The GameSir G8 Galileo brings full-fat controller gaming to your phone, but does it do enough to compete with a genuine handheld for a spot in your bag? Let's find out. I've ended up with two of these controllers, having bought one myself before Christmas and subsequently being sent one out by GameSir because this will be a sponsored video. But if you want to get your hands on that second controller, I'm going to be sending it out to somebody who signs up to my newsletter over the next 2 weeks. You'll find a link to that down in my description, along with a 15% discount code if you would like to buy one on Amazon. These days, there are quite a few stereoscopic controllers that can attach to your phone and enhance its gaming experience. The big difference with the G8 Galileo is that it comes in a more traditional gamepad form factor. This affords it more space for larger buttons and longer grips that make it a much more comfortable experience than something like the Backbone One. There are even magnetic faceplates that will allow you to customize the look of this controller, although I don't think any have been released as of this video being recorded. But even better, they snap off to reveal removable Hall effect joysticks, and you've got a few alternative options that come inside the box. While I'm not necessarily a fan of this inverted Nintendo Switch style joystick layout, it is really nice to see them slightly off axis to the D-pad and the gamepad buttons, which means you can swivel your thumb to move between different sections of the controller. The gamepad buttons themselves are sufficiently clicky and spacious enough, but you might not be as impressed with the D-pad, which is incredibly clicky to say the least, and while it is quite accurate, it's also very noisy. The triggers are also a good experience on this controller, and you can switch them over to a hair trigger mode. Where this controller really shines in terms of build quality though is how it's going to connect to your phone and above all protect it. The inner edge of the controller is lined with this serrated rubber guard, and that lining runs across the entire backplate too. You'll also find a male USB-C connection which is on a kind of lever, so you can actually flex it around and find the right spot for your phone. Unfortunately, the G8 Galileo does only come with a USB-C option, which means you'll have to have an iPhone 15 or later if you're not an Android user. And there is another feature which is only available to Android users, that being the two programmable back paddles on the rear side of the device, which can be mapped to different button combos using an Android phone, but unfortunately there's no app to do this for the iPhone. Another thing to note is that if you are using a case with your phone, it's going to be a very snug fit next to that USB-C port. GameSir recommends using a case that is less than 1mm width, and I personally found using a clear case that I did have to squeeze the controller together in order to ensure a good connection. There is also a USB-C pass-through to charge your phone while you're playing it, and a headphone jack, which is always great to see. To give you an idea of just how portable this controller is though, I recently took it with me on a trip to Vienna with my family, and I was able to get through a bit of Minecraft on the plane with my son lay across me and his head resting on my arm. It might not be as portable as the Backbone One, but it's definitely robust enough to sling into a bag you've already got full with other stuff and just whip it out whenever you fancy a bit of a gaming sesh. Just like the Backbone One though, the true gaming experience is going to depend entirely on the phone that you're using. Does it have a good enough battery life or performance to sustain the games you want to play? And are they even available on your phone in the first place? The games I've mostly been reaching for on my iPhone 15 Pro Max are either cozy games or ones that I can pick up and play, dive into and just kind of drop at a moment's notice. That's because I personally find it difficult to focus on gaming when I'm playing through a phone, and it's not just about getting things like notifications from messages, it's also the fact that my phone will tend to auto dim the screen if I'm playing in certain conditions, and that's not always great for a consistent gameplay experience. That said, even though I'm the worst Minecraft player in existence, I have really enjoyed playing with it on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and it really does look beautiful on this display. It's such a shame that when you are playing games on the PlayStation Remote Play app, the aspect ratio of the iPhone means that this screen is really not used to its full potential. While the iPhone screen might look quite similar in size to the PlayStation Portal, the cropping that you experience on the PlayStation Remote Play app just means that it's much smaller in practice. And despite the fact I notice much more disruption to my stream when I am playing through a phone, because of the form factor of this controller, you are able to get through some quite sticky situations on games like God of War, and it is a really enjoyable experience gaming on this controller. It's also a much less expensive option than the PlayStation Portal or even the Backbone 1. And most of the bugbears I have with this controller actually relate to the iPhone's limitations in terms of gaming. If you don't mind gaming on your phone for an extended period, this is probably the most comfortable option you've got at the moment. Here are my reviews of the Backbone 1 and the PlayStation Portal for a comparison. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.